Welcome everyone, I am the Depressed Eeyore, and this is Dark Souls 2. This is on the PC, so enjoy that I guess. And I'm gonna go ahead and get the intro taken care of, and then I'm gonna explain, once we get to the point where I have to do the character creation, I will explain exactly what I'm gonna do with all the feedback I got. Thank you for those who responded and gave their character ideas. It's always useful, but pretty much I generally read the trends of whenever I give those sorts of videos out where I like ask for votes. Usually I get some in the beginning and then not much towards the end. So I think I got all the feedback I'm going to be getting. So we'll go into that more once we get this going. I'll also explain my experience with... Actually, I'll go ahead and explain my experience with the Soul series now. I've never played Demon Souls. I never had a PS3. I played Dark Souls 1 on the 360, but my 360 was never connected to the internet, so I never got patches, and nor did I ever take advantage of the experience of using messages or getting invaded or getting help. Also, I found the controls and stuff to be kind of really bad, like very not just non-responsive, but like it would take my inputs and put them in a queue, and it was really hard to explain. Just say I found the controls very bad when I played Dark Souls 1 on the 360. This is Dark Souls 2 in the PC. I am playing it with an Xbox controller. You can play it with a mouse and keyboard, but it's still not perfect. So I definitely suggest playing this with an Xbox controller. I've played through the game on New Game. I have not done New Game Plus yet or anything like that. I might do New Game Plus after we do New Game, but I've done a lot of the optional bosses and stuff like that. I can assure you I don't know everything about this game. I've missed a lot of things when I was watching other people's playthroughs, so don't be surprised if I miss anything, especially secret doors. I tend to miss secret doors a lot, but just letting you guys know ahead of time that I'll be as thorough as possible, but I'm definitely going to miss things. Alright, so let's go ahead and do a new game. I'll be quiet during the intro, so if you need to turn up the volume, go ahead.
Perhaps you've seen it, maybe in a dream, a murky, forgotten land. A place where souls may mend your ailing mind. You will lose everything once branded. The symbol of the curse. An augur of darkness. Your past, your future, your very light. None will have meaning, and you won't even care. By then, you'll be something other than human. A thing that feeds on souls, a hollow. Long ago, in a walled-off land far to the north, a great king built a great kingdom. I believe they called it Drang Lake. Perhaps you're familiar. No, how could you be? But one day, you will stand before its decrepit gate without really knowing why. moth drawn to a flame. Your wings will burn in anguish. Time after time. For that is your fate. The fate of the cursed.
Okay, so that's pretty much all the story you're going to be getting besides having conversations with NPCs. Dark Souls tends to not tell much story directly. It's just kind of what you have to experience. Let's see. And there we are. Generic unidentified undead. So essentially, from what I've seen of Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2, essentially people can get cursed, where instead of, you know, when they die, they become undead. And when they become undead, they are still sentient, but they'll eventually become hollow, which in that case they become essentially crazed undead that just want to kill everything. So right now we are undead, but we haven't lost our marbles just yet. Alright. Those white spirits you saw are other players. Like, you can literally see other players in this game. But they don't you don't exactly interact with them directly. But they can be useful in some cases, because you can see exactly what they're doing for a short time, and you'll be able to see maybe what you're supposed to do in certain parts where you're confused. Anyway, I don't remember if there's anything across the edges, so I'm probably just going to leave it alone. Right now we are level 1. We have literally all our stats are 1. We have this gear that we can't, well, we can remove it, but it'll show us as a male character at the moment, I believe. There are monkey guys here. They will attack you if you attack them. You can actually kill them right now if you really want to. They're not really worth fighting, though. Rusted coin. Rusted coin is an item that item you can use to temporarily increase your luck for finding items. I'll try to explain items as I go along. There's a path up there. We're not going there yet. There's also a hidden path over here. We're not going to go there yet either. Instead, we're going to go ahead and do some more cutscene stuff.
What seems to be the ruckus?
Oh my, your face. The face of the curse.
It's an undead. An undead has come to play. They all end up here. All the ones like you. You spoke to that kind old dear, didn't you?
You're finished. You'll go hollow. Yes, you'll become one of them.
Hollows prey upon men, feast upon their souls. This is the fate of the cursed.
What is your name?
Alright, so they explained a little bit about going hollow and stuff like that. We'll talk more about that in a bit. First, I'm gonna go ahead and look up the name I'm gonna be putting in. What I did for a lot of the decisions, as far as like what sort of character I'm gonna be playing, the general consensus as far as like suggestions went, was some sort of melee with magic hybrid type thing. Essentially using a sword in some cases. The only thing that was kind of different, well, the only one different person was one person wanted to be a cleric. The rest of the people were essentially leaning towards the warrior or swordsman. And I think I got one vote for knight. But essentially all of them were generally the same. You start out with some melee class and go towards a magic class. The only thing that was kind of different is some people asked for various types of magic. There was no request for hex, which I'm kind of glad for because that's what I've already done. So it was, I think, one vote for pyromancy, a few votes for faith, and a few votes for magic. So I went with what some people have kind of leaned it towards. Like some people actually, instead of giving me a suggestion, kind of like pointed at someone else's suggestion and said they wanted that. And I think it's something I haven't really done fully yet, so I'll be doing that. But first, as far as the name goes, I went ahead and looked up through the character creation stuff and tried to figure out what sort of character I can kind of mimic or emulate the best. As far as all the names were Toho characters as far as suggestions went, so that's going to be a given. So my characters, the character I'm going to the name I'm going to be going with is going to be Tenshi, but I'm going to go with her full name if I can fit it all. So give me one moment while I look up her last name. Alright, I couldn't fit her actual spelling of her last name, so I went with the phonetic. So, let's go ahead and continue. Tenshi Hinanai.
At least you know your own name. Here's your reward for sharing. It's a human effigy. Take a closer look.
Who do you think it's supposed to be?
Think back, deep into your past.
Yes, it's an effigy of you.
Okay, so now we're in the character creation thing, which I've shown off before. Let's go ahead and at least change our gender. So what I was talking about before is the hairs. There's not very many to pick from, unfortunately. In fact, the only one that really looked like any of the Toho character names that were suggested was this one, which kind of looks, at least is a long hair, which kind of goes with Tenshi or Sanae. So we'll go ahead and go with that. I will do the rest of the details of the character off screen. We'll go ahead and talk more about our classes. So the one that was kind of voted for the most was Sakya, which was a swordsman that would gradually become a cleric. So you start out with swordsman and then gradually go towards faith type magic, which I'm completely fine with. It's a little rough with a swordsman just simply because you start with less faith than intelligence. That's not really too big of a deal. As far as like getting, as far as like what sort of physical builds we'll be going for mainly a dex build, which means all of our weapons and stuff are going to be focused towards dexterity rather than strength. I'm not too familiar with dex builds. I did do a 40-40 build of like a strength and dex build, but that's back when I didn't really know what I was doing, and now I know a little bit more. I did look through some various weapons and stuff that might interest me as far as like a dex build would go, and I think it would. I have an idea what I'll be going towards as sort of a mid to end game type thing. So, and I think it'll satisfy some of the other requests I've been asked. For example, like Yomu, the Yomu request I got, which I believe I do know there's katanas in this game. I might give those a shot. Also, a swordsman tends to start with really good gear. You start out with a short sword +1, which means it's already been enhanced once, and a scimitar +1. Your armor is pretty decent. The only big disadvantage for the swordsman is you start with the least amount of vigor out of any of the classes. In fact, a explorer actually starts with more health than a swordsman, which kind of shocked me. So we will be going as a swordsman, and I'm gonna. Now, I think the suggestion for Sakya was like a bunch of priorities for various stats. I'm probably not going to go with those in order. I'll definitely try to lean towards them, but I'm not going to go in the order that was suggested. I feel if you're going to be doing some sort of caster hybrid type build, you need to get that caster stuff up as soon as possible, because it'll definitely benefit you in the long run. So I'll be probably putting a few points into strength to start off, just so I can unlock more weapon choices for me, because at about 11 strength, you can pretty much unlock all longswords. And I believe it unlocks all katanas as well. And after that, I'm going to be focusing purely on faith and at least enough attunement to get access to a spell slot. Because right now we don't have enough attunement to get a spell slot. You need 10 attunement. And right now we have 6. So, we're going to go with Swordsman. Our gift, I'm going to go with Sakia's suggestion, which was the Petrified Something. Which means it will give me essentially a random, possibly good item in the beginning of the game. For the most part, there's nothing I'm looking forward to. It's just gonna be something to get. If I get like one of the fancy weapons, if it's not something towards my build, I might consider selling it for souls. I do have a bunch of DLC as well. Well, not DLC. I have the pre-order bonus, which is a bunch of useless items and shields and stuff. I don't intend on using any of them. I'll probably sell them just to get some extra souls. You can get any of the pre-order stuff in game if you want to. Though the only reason you would ever get them is for collection purposes, because they all suck. They're terrible. The other suggestions for a gift was, I believe, someone suggested a Seed of the Giants, and that was about it. More than likely, when I did on my playthrough, I used the Seed of the Giants, and I never used it. It was just sitting in my inventory the entire time. It's also not something you can really use very often, unfortunately, so I can't really do the idea that was mentioned for it. So there were 2 votes for Petrified Something, so I'll be sticking with that. And that's pretty much it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it here, and I'll do some character creation stuff, and hopefully the appearance isn't too horrible. So, be right back. Okay, sorry about that. Well, you guys didn't notice, but it took a little bit. So, here we are. We got Tenshi Hinanai. Let's finalize creation and get this show going. Yes, this is our true self.
All people come here for the same reason. To break the curse.
You're no different, I should think. Doesn't stand a chance. Well, you never know.
Go through the door and trot along to the kingdom.
But remember, hold on to your souls. They're all that keep you from going hollow. Oh, I'll fool you no longer. You'll lose your souls. All of them. Over and over again.
Okay, this is all the pre-order stuff, so don't care about that. Not important. Okay, so here we are. Tenshi Hinanai. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to rob these people, because they're jerks. You can kill pretty much any NPC in this game. Actually, you can kill all of NPCs in this game if you wish, including those old ladies. If you kill them, they do have human effigies, which, like that one that was in that chest. Human effigies allow you to become human again. You're still classified as an undead, but you no longer look like you're, a decrepit old corpse, which is what we looked like originally. When you die, you lose your humanity, and as you lose your humanity, you'll go more and more hollow every time you die. The more hollow you become, the more decrepit you'll look, like your hair will start falling out and stuff like that, and your max health will drop further and further until you're down to 50% health. The way to restore all that is, of course, by just using a human effigy, and you'll go back to full and be human again. Besides that, being human gives you access to various online things, such as being able to call friends to help you and things like that. I know in Dark Souls 1, having a lot of humanity and being human gave you higher drop chances. So usually when I grind for drops and stuff, I usually prefer to be human. Then again, I generally like being human because, well, it's the only way to look the way you want to, because otherwise you're just a decrepit old corpse. I apologize if the music seems a little loud. This place seems to have loud music, so it can be hard to hear. There's a lead. Alright, so the door they wanted us to go through is here. I'm just going to go ahead and hit this checkpoint here. We can go ahead and... This is the scimitar. I really don't like the scimitar at all. I don't like how you swing it. It's pretty awful. At this point, dual wielding doesn't help us at all. Like, it really doesn't. Once your stats hit like 150% of the requirements of your weapons that you have in either hand, you can go into like a power stance, which is like a dual wielding stance where your normal attacks will actually, well, you can just hit one of your attack buttons and you'll swing with both weapons in a various flourish and stuff like that. But since we don't do that, the only way we can swing either weapon is by hitting the respective left and right triggers for the left and right hands. So I'm just going to have them both in the same hand, and I'll just alternate and stick with a single sword style. Usually what I like to have is just have a weapon in my right hand and then like a spell casting thing in my left hand. So I'm going to be sticking with that. This is the short sword, pretty standard. Oops. Can that be fixed? Yes. Anyway, this is tutorial stuff. Bonfires are places of respite. You may also light torches on them. So this is your checkpoint. Every time you activate a bonfire, your checkpoint will be there, and so when you die, you'll come back to that last checkpoint. Whenever you rest at a bonfire, you'll get all your health back, as well as all your Estus Flask charges, which I'll explain later once we actually get an Estus Flask. And every time you rest at a bonfire, the majority of the monsters that you've encountered and killed will probably respawn. I say probably because some monsters don't respawn, like special monsters. And after you reach a certain point of killing monsters like 12 or 15 times, they will stop respawning. So this game's a little bit easier in that you can brute force your way through dungeons if you really want to. It also limits how much you can grind without relying on certain special items, because you'll eventually just kill them enough times that they won't respawn. Anyway, the item over here is a Soul of the Lost Undead and a torch. Torches are weird. You can only light them in areas that have like bonfires and like some lit area, some fires you can actually light a torch at. And torches will provide illumination, but you can also use them to light other torches, so you can either relight your torch there or just have an area that has general illumination. The Lost Soul of Undead or whatever, what that does is it's essentially a portable item that you can expend anytime you want to give yourself souls. Right now in the bottom right, you'll see I have 0 souls. Souls is your primary currency for everything. It's used for leveling up, it's used for buying items, it's used for repairing, it's used for everything. And as the old lady has mentioned, you're going to lose these often. If you die, all your souls are left in the place you died, and you have to go and get them back. If you die a second time before you get the before you do a retrieval, those souls that were in the retrieval are gone permanently, and you lost those souls. So don't be surprised when you play this game that you just lost like a whole lot of experience and or gold just from just dying. Anyway, let's go back in here, and we're going to talk to some NPCs. I intend on talking to all the NPCs, so that's going to take up a lot of the time in this Let's Play, especially this first few videos.
This is a limbo. A link between Drangleic and the outer world. Fair traveler, I know that you must have a story. Why else would you visit such a place? This lost, decayed kingdom.
So, as mentioned before by the old ladies, undead have been coming here in hopes of breaking the curse of their undead curse. Also, the other reason why undead have been coming here is there's a lot of strong souls, which will allow them to at least, even though it won't break the curse, at least keep them from going hollow for a while. So keep that in mind. Nearly every person you encounter here is going to most likely be undead, with a few exceptions. which means they're all trying to just trying to survive in their own way of just getting souls and avoiding becoming hollow, including the other players.
The old women were once fire keepers. I am here to look after them. It is what my mother did, and her mother before her, and so on.
I hope that the music is not too loud. Like I said, I'll try to be quiet during all the conversations, so you guys can adjust the volume accordingly. I will try to do some more sound checks as I go along, but I wanted to go ahead and get this show on the road.
The old women were keepers of the fire. But now, the fire shows signs of fading. And the kingdom is beset by hollows. The old women are sisters. I am told there was a fourth. Long ago, fire keepers were commonplace. But now they are lost, scattered to the winds. The old women are
okay, she's repeating now.
Lost.
Okay. In Dark Souls 1, there was a lot of emphasis towards lighting fires and like dispelling darkness, because apparently if areas get plunged in darkness, bad things happen. This one, it's not so much of emphasis, but you do definitely light a lot of fires. Okay, you don't have anything to say. You're just laughing too.
You must go on a journey without rest. Well, I suppose if you find yourself at an impasse. But if your will is yet unbroken, then you may return here to start again with a clean slate.
I was trying to talk to this other lady, but she's just gonna say ellipses, so we'll go ahead and talk to you.
Now, go along, go along.
Okay. We'll get a little... yeah, she has nothing to say right now. Eventually we'll get an item that'll allow us to respec if we want to, which means all those level ups we get, we can actually reassign those points by using an item once we go back to her. So once we get that item, we can go back and talk to her some more, and she'll tell us a little bit about it, and if we want to, we can respec. So it's not a big deal. If we reach a point where everyone's just displeased with whatever build I'm going with, I can change it. I will say the game's pretty flexible as far as what you can spend points on. I mean, I wasted a lot of points just buying... My primary character that I played with was a bit of a hoarder. And in other words, I was trying to get every item in the game, which means I was spending a lot of souls on things I just didn't need. Anyway, let's go ahead and do a little bit of combat, and I'll probably then call it a video before we start the main tutorial area. So this area is optional. And we got this troll guy here. He won't mess with you until you start attacking him. Also, I never really... there's two types of attacks. Well, there's multiple types of attacks, but the primary ones is you got your light attacks, like that, and then your heavier attacks, which are different for every weapon you're using. Yeah, I really don't like the... I don't like the little flimsy way you swing with a falchion. It's way too... showy, I guess you can say, and being showy in this game is a quick way to ask for death. So now something to note: even though it's known as a heavy swing, sometimes heavy swings don't do as well as you might think they do. Like on a heavily armored opponent, doing these thrusts might not do as much damage as an actual slash attack. Alright, so this is a troll. And he's very, very hard to deal with. Okay, fall over. I found that thrusts do a lot of damage. Oh wow, that was close. I have trouble with trolls, mainly because they're really hard to tell. I have a lot of trouble telling how, what their reach is, really. And they hit pretty hard, so you can't really afford to make mistakes. Like this. Got him. So 2 hits nearly killed me. The 3rd hit would have killed me. But this particular troll drops a stone ring, so we're gonna go ahead and equip that. Stone ring does poise damage. It'll increase your poise damage. What poise damage does is it influences your ability to cause a enemy to stagger when you hit them, or at least make them flinch. We also got 1,000 souls from killing that monster. Pretty much every monster you kill, will give you souls. As far as our gear, as I mentioned before, we have a scimitar +1, a short sword +1. There's a bunch of stats here. Most of them are just different damage types, like a physical, magic, fire, lightning, etc. Then you got things like how strong your counterattacks are. We are not going to be doing any counterattacks. I never do them. They're not bad. It's just I'm not good at them. You got your poise damage here, which affects impact disrupting opponent's poise. You have your own poise stat, which will influence your ability to resist poise damage. You got things like stability, which will influence how well you can block with a weapon or shield. All these little things here are for defense, like if you block. So if I blocked with this sword, I would reduce damage. Generally, you don't block with weapons. Instead, you'll block with shields. Then you got things like weight. In the bottom right above my souls, you'll see that there's 14.1 out of 44.5. The 44.5 is my maximum weight. And the percentage is how much weight I'm using. The higher that percentage is, as it gets higher, it will start influencing my ability to do dodge rolls, like the rolls I was doing before. If it gets way too high, it'll get to the point where you're literally just doing like a clumsy roll, land on your back thing. So I generally try to keep myself pretty low on that so I can get as much mobility as possible. Also, all weapons and armor and rings have durability. Durability is not an issue until it hits 0. If it's anytime you visit a campfire to refresh your health, it also refreshes all your durability. But if an item reaches 0 durability, it breaks. And the only way you can repair a broken item is through a blacksmith, and you have to pay souls to do that. So whatever you do, try not to break your gear. Alright, the only other thing we have in our inventory, besides that torch, the torch is, instead of being an item, it's a timer. So in other words, I have 5 minutes worth of torchlight if I ever ignite my torch. The only other item we got is life gems, which is currently our only healing item. It heals over time. It's pretty useful. Also in our inventory we got a few other items. We have a human effigy, which will reverse the effects of hollowing. There's the rusted coin I mentioned before. We got a few what do you call them? Essentially online items, like the black separation crystal. Not that big of a deal. We also have a dark sign, which sacrifices all of our souls and just teleports us back to a bonfire. Pretty desperate item, to say the least. The only thing that makes the dark sign slightly useful is if you don't want to lose your humanity status. And that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go over any of the pre-order items. They're not worth going over. I do have another set of armor, which is just the imported hood. It's not that useful. It's pretty much the weakest armor in the game. But if you want to look like someone that just has no distinguishing features, then you have that armor set still. Anyway, what we have for our equipment set is the Wanderer set. Nothing too special there. Yeah, it's just light armor. Okay, so that takes care of all that. I am pretty much running out of time, so let's go ahead and loot what we have. Gold pine resin. Gold pine resin is a item that can be applied to weapons. In the case of gold pine resin, it applies lightning damage to your weapon. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and go back here. As you see, we're back at the house already. We're going to go ahead and take this little path down here. When I played through this game initially, I missed this item. Like, I didn't know about it. So, small, smooth, and silky stone. This is an item that you can turn in, much like the petrified something that we have. I'll show that off in probably the next video, most likely. So, for now, we've defeated our first enemy, which is probably one of the tougher enemies. And next we'll be going through the tutorial. So, I'm going to go ahead and call this a video, and I'm going to check my sounds and all that, and when we come back, we will we'll begin our adventure as Tenshi Hinanai. I am the Depressed Dior, and this is Dark Souls 2. See you guys later.